Good morning, good morning. Welcome to Grief Support Group. I am back after a little hiatus. Not really, it wasn't that crazy, but I was in Atlanta. But okay, let me introduce myself for those who are uninitiated. My name is Alex Piscatelli, and this is Grief Support Group, the show where I talk all things pop culture, my research on grief and media, and I answer your advice questions. So here I am, and as said, there was a week break because I was in Atlanta last week for my conference, which I will get to, of course, but you're about to see a lot of me coming down the pike. I guess I wanted to talk about it a little bit because I'm really excited about it. I have things coming. If you're subscribed via email, which you can do so at griefandmedia.com, you will see many things come to the surface. They're going to hit your inbox. It's going to be crazy, okay? So obviously this episode, and it's going to be great. I have a lot to talk about, as always. I actually, you know what? It's because I'm on time. I was on time today, and I got up early and I went to bed late because I turned in a full draft of my thesis. As mentioned, I had done that like 2 weeks ago, but just turned in a revised draft of my thesis. It's going to be great. I'm ideally, hopefully scheduled. It's on the books. It's on the calendar, defending in like a weekend, 5 days, something of the sort. So it's all happening. It's all happening. And you know what? I'll get to the announcements in a second, but now I just have to go on a tangent because here's the thing. It's all happening. So I'm defending, and then I'm like thinking about final projects for the class I'm taking for fun, the death and dying class. And that's it. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like there's all these things. It feels okay. I know this is going to sound crazy because I'm working on my thesis. Like, this is actually going to be the most insane thing I'll ever say. But why does everything feel really anticlimactic? Like, I feel like really big semesters, a lot happening, different things, whatever. Like even last semester, I defended my thesis proposal, and it felt like, oh my God, I'm about to defend this. But why this semester does everything feel anticlimactic? It's like, I know I'm graduating and it should be this big hurrah of sorts, but instead I just feel like, okay, like it doesn't feel real, and like I would like it to. I feel like it's like partial burnout with senioritis, with the expenses of all that is graduation. And let's address that because we had to order our cap and gowns from this website called Jostens or Jostens. I don't remember this occurring for when I graduated from undergrad from SDSU. I don't remember it being like this website that I had to order from. I thought it was like from the bookstore and you bought it. I feel like I don't even think it was rental. But if you are graduating with your master's degree, your rental for a cap and gown is going to be like $125. Mind you, they say it's $80, and then there's like $15 of fees, and then shipping is like another $30. So you're like, okay, like really? It's just like, couldn't you have and then so you basically have a cap, a gown, a hood situation, and a tassel. I think that's what all comes in this package that you've ordered. So I think you can keep the cap and the tassel, and then the other things you have to pay for is what I heard if you want to keep it. Because you can keep the gown. Who would do that? Who needs that ever? I don't know what I did with my undergrad gown. Certainly don't have it. And then the hood, I feel like I don't want something that was like never mine to begin with. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But the cap I'm excited for because I love decorating my cap. I was talking about this with other people. I think this is where my like creative energy comes through because I always have ideas for a cap. I always do. It's something I think I thought about my undergrad like cap and how I would decorate it since I was in high school because I wanted to decorate a high school one. Couldn't do it then. Whatever. So I have an idea for my cap, and I was talking about it with other people, and they were like, oh, I don't know what to do. I was like, really? I've known what to do the second I stepped foot on this campus. And I thought I wouldn't get to because I thought we wouldn't get to whatever. So that is going well. No, but it's also expensive. And then I get these emails from Jostens, and they're like, hey, do you want to purchase a class ring for $300? I'm like, what gives the impression that I would want to do that? You already offered me different like packages that would include a $400 diploma frame. What makes you think I'm gonna come on? Like, I get they have to make their money. I get they have their email list, but you should put me in an email list that indicates I'm doing the bare minimum. Like, this is all I want. Like, I don't want anything else. What am I gonna do with a class ring? All I can imagine is like it feels like a weapon almost. Like, aren't class rings like huge? What am I gonna do with that? It's not for me. But anyway, so yeah, graduation's expensive. Then for our graduation in my department, we're getting emails now about it. And I open it and it was like, oh, it costs money for you and your guests to go. And I'm like, oh my God. But then they sent like a revised email like a week late and they were like, just kidding. It doesn't cost money for you, but it does for your guests still. That is still true. So I don't know. I don't know. And then I had to pay like money to apply to graduate. It's just a whole thing. So maybe this is why it feels anticlimactic. It's like, I don't want to pay money for these frivolous things, this gown, to sell it, to rent this gown, to sweat in it and then return it back. And you know what? I hate, there's nothing I hate more than having to return something back. I don't order things online that often because like, what am I going to do if it doesn't fit? Return it in a box? Oh my God, I'm like getting stressed out. It's like making the back of my neck tingly. I don't like any of this. I don't like any part of it. I don't want to return it in a box. I don't want to return it in a bag. It's just not for me. So we'll see what happens. I am excited in ways when I think about it, when I try to be objective. But yes, at the moment, it all feels both stressful and anticlimactic, and I have senioritis and I'm done. I just want to like, I don't want to say I wasn't meant for this life because I actually really love school. Like I'm being dramatic for the sake of being dramatic. I actually really love school, but I feel like for me, I love like the leisureness of it all. I feel like the ramping up as it gets closer and closer to graduation, like that's not the part I like. I like the part when we're in the beginning and it's like really hard and we have all these readings and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out and I have so much momentum and I don't have any gray hairs yet and the bags under my eyes like are under control. Like now I'm at the point where, and you know what? I made it through grad school with I think only 2 gray hairs. And so I do think that's a success. The bags under my eyes do look awful. But you know what? I think we're making it through. So yeah, that's what I have to say about graduation. But you know what? I'm just whatever. Okay? Whatever. Okay, so now getting back into what I was saying, where there's going to be a lot of me coming in your inbox. So the reason this being, husband of Grief and Media, Jack and I are going to do an episode on something very bad is going to happen, which I know I teased before, but I watched the show twice. I'm watching it a third time now and taking notes. So I just needed these notes. Also, he is in LA for his new job that he just started. So, you know, I was in Atlanta, he was in LA. It was a whole thing. Ships crossing in the night, you know what I mean? And you know what? This all happened on Dory's birthday. It's mascot of Grief and Media's birthday. It was 2 days ago and she turned 6 and Jack keeps trying to say she's middle-aged. And I'm like, she's not, she's 6. She's 6. Like, if we're really trying to do the, like, converting to human years or whatever, which it's all so arbitrary. Like, what's that mean that my cat is 50? That means nothing to me. But she's not, like, if we really had to do the conversion, like, whatever of these, I mean, she must be like a solid, it's like she's 29, you know what I mean? Like, you would never call me middle-aged, at least I hope you wouldn't. So there's so many pressures put on women, and I'm tired of it, okay? But anyway, it was her birthday, and we were all really happy for her. She did have to sit with me as I stressed out about my thesis and just everything. But you know what? We made it through, and her and I will watch more of Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen to celebrate, because she loves gore, she loves horror, she loves blood, all of it. So anyway, what is coming is that episode. Also, coming on Monday, this is something I'm super excited about, okay? Is the video series that I'm going to launch for Grief and Media. I cannot wait. I know I've teased it a little bit in different places, different areas, but it's officially coming. We are going to be doing a show for Grief and Media that examines how people are impacted by grief and the media that helps them cope with and understand it. Oh my God, it's going to be I'm kind of nervous. So we're doing a big filming thing this weekend. More details to come there. I'll definitely talk about it on the next episode. But yeah, no, I'm literally so excited and so nervous. So I have a tangent based off of that. So those are the housekeeping. We're all aligned now. We're all together. We're all on the same page. Now let me get to this thing that I've been thinking about a lot, because it actually pisses me off. Okay. And I know I've gone on 20 rants already, but you're not coming to me to not hear a rant. You know what I mean? So let me get right into content, because I am going to be posting these videos on Instagram and YouTube. Okay. And I don't want anyone saying to me that I'm making content, or that, when I do these episodes or do my radio show, I don't want anyone to say this is content. This is not content. I don't consider anything I do to be content. Okay? And I hate when people call things content, because to me, that is exactly what's wrong with where we're situated in 2026 when it comes to, being online and creating and learning and all of it. You know what I mean? Because you're going online and you're seeing people be like, I'm a content creator. And what does that imply to you? To me, that implies you're creating something that's just meant to be consumed, and it goes in one ear and out the other, right? And so to me, content, this word content is you're going online to just go through things so fast, and you're not retaining anything, and you're not really sitting with the things that you're seeing. And I hate this word also, consumption, consuming, because I was talking to a friend, and shout out to him, love him. But he said something about listening to audiobooks, and he's able to do it while he's doing dishes or playing video games or whatever. And he was like, yeah, I'm reading. And I'm like, while you're playing a video game? What are you talking about? But anyway, he said this word. And again, I think a lot of people talk this way, and I'm not faulting him. And I've said things like this before too, but I'm trying to be overtly careful to not speak this way, because I'm so anti it. But he said, it's I forget the exact words, so sorry, I'm putting words in his mouth, but he said something I consumed that or this book I consumed or whatever. And I'm like, what do you mean you consume a book? What do you mean you consume, quote, content? And then I think of someone like Mr. Beast, and there was this Atlantic article that talked about how he's so dead in the eyes. If there was any other medium in which he was creating, quote, content or creating, quote, art or whatever, he would not be able to do it, because what he does is so optimized to get you to continue scrolling and to be addicted to your phone, and just to keep consuming all these minutes of the whatever thing he's putting out. You know what I mean? And I hate that. I hate that, because you think of the word consumption, or at least I think of that. And I don't think you're consuming the things that are really enriching. You know what I mean? Think about the word consumption. You use the word consuming when you think of what? Food, right? Consumption. You're not going to say, oh, I consumed this amazing cookie that my grandma baked for me, this chocolate chip cookie, I consumed it. You're not going to say, oh, like I went to this amazing restaurant and I consumed the oysters and I consumed the, whatever, you know what I mean? The carbonara. You're not going to say that. You're going to say, I devoured it. I savored it. I loved it. I ate it and it made my mouth water and oh my God, it was so good. Like you're never going to say I consumed it. And so why, when it comes to what I think should be considered art, although not what these people are making, not what Mr. Beast is making, that is not art, but what I think should be considered art, because I'm sorry, even though I'm ranting, whatever, this show, to me, this is an art form, because I'm coming on here and I'm coming with a plan and I'm coming with my years of experience talking in front of a mic, and it's all culminating in my life experience and my research, and all of it culminates to create this piece of art, this 50-minute or however long this episode is going to be piece of art that I can hand over to someone and say, here, this came from all my years of experience and all my experiences and all my whatever, my mentality, my what's on my mind, this moment in time that we're in. Like this all culminates to create this. It's not content. It's not content. And you know what? Someone could listen to this passively, and I'm sure many do. Someone could listen to this passively, and it accompanies them as they're driving, or it accompanies you as you're getting ready. And I listen to so many podcasts in which I'm getting ready and I'm listening to them, but it's still not me consuming content. It's me choosing to have this intimate experience. Frankly, audio is so intimate, and even stuff you see on your phone, that's so intimate. It's someone just in front of a screen looking and choosing to stop on whatever you have created. That's intimate. And I don't take that for granted. And I also don't take what I listen to for granted. Like Rob Sesternino and Sam Sanders and all these other podcasters that I love, like they're not creating content. They're making something. They're creating, and I get to listen to it and savor it and feel seen or feel entertained or learn something. And so I hate the idea of content and consumption. I don't consume. I don't. And if I find myself consuming and not taking in or learning or whatever, then I don't want to do it. Then get me off this phone. You know what I mean? I'm just so tired because I've been seeing it more and more like, oh, content creator. Yeah. I hate it. I hate it. Okay? I hate it. And let me circle now. I actually thought I was going to talk not that much today. Let me circle now to the Justin Bieber at Coachella of it all, because I have some thoughts. I'm not entirely mad at it. However, I think this goes a little bit with the consumption of it all, okay? It turns into a consumption spectacle. It turns into content. And let me discuss. So I only saw clips because this was purposeful, which I'll get to. I only saw clips online, but Justin Bieber was on stage at Coachella. He headlined, day 2 or day 3, day 2. And he, for a lot of the performance, was just sitting there on a stool, had his laptop out. The laptop was screening, like we're in a classroom. And he was playing music videos, old stuff, and singing along to it. And he played some like memes too or whatever. But like in ways like because he did Favorite Girl, which everyone was up in arms about. Listen, the only song I personally would have been up in arms about is Die in Your Arms. That's the best. Sorry, that's the best Justin Bieber song. It's like, why are we not acknowledging that? Anyway, he had like his With You song like cover that he did like before he was famous, all these things. So he's like playing these, singing along with them. And I get it. And I get the criticisms too. People talked about, you know, he can do this. And if a woman artist like Sabrina Carpenter, who was the headliner the day before, has all these theatrics and all this like big grand show, she can do that, or she has to do that. Whereas like this male counterpart can just sit in front of a screen. And in ways I do agree. Yes. But in also many ways, why would you want to be that mediocre? I'm sorry, but I wouldn't want to have that reputation of, oh, she just gets up there and shares her screen. I want to put on a show. I want to be theatrical. So whatever, there's downsides and whatever. And I'm not going to insult or say how I feel about the Justin Bieber concert or Justin Bieber performance, because I think in many ways it worked. And I think clearly for people who came to see Justin Bieber and see what he would do, and the believers out there and the believers who have been believers for 15 years, like, I think people were satisfied. What I am going to talk about is the clear contentification, should I say, of this performance. I don't know how intentional this was on his end, but I know for his team and for marketers and for all these things that this was like such a clear ploy to get this clipped and shared on social media. I don't know about you, I saw it everywhere. Again, I told you I only saw clips. I didn't see a full performance. I didn't seek out a full performance. I'm not even online that much. I am, but not as much as I used to be. But I was seeing these clips everywhere. And then I go on LinkedIn, and unfortunately, if you've worked in social media strategy before, like, you have this curse in which you must think about everything online, like, critically and like whatever, think about how this could be best positioned to be shared online. It's a curse. If you work in social media strategy, you can't let that go. But anyway, I was on LinkedIn, and I can't cite my source because I don't remember, but someone was talking about how there's this new strategy now in marketing and in social media marketing in which marketers and these brand people, whatever, I can't think of the word, brand strategists, are getting meme pages and different pages online to clip out a part of, say, this performance and post it. So if you're seeing, I can't even think of like all the little like accounts, like, wasn't there one called Girly Problems? I don't know, but all those little like meme accounts, more than likely they clipped out the Justin Bieber performance. And that's not organic. Maybe for some of them it is, but for many of them, they were paid to do that. That was purposeful. They literally are doing that because Justin Bieber's team or his music group, whatever, is paying for that. And so I just find it like, again, I am more of a Sabrina Carpenter fan than a Justin Bieber fan. And again, neither of them I sought out clips from. I literally didn't see one Sabrina Carpenter clip because her team's not doing that. But the Justin Bieber one's team's doing that, one. And two, like, his performance was optimized for that. So I don't mind the performance. I don't mind it. And I sound like I care a lot. I really sound like I care a lot. I don't care that much. Like, I just don't care about what Justin Bieber's up to. I don't care. What I care about is how this is situated in the context of the way in which we, quote, consume, quote, content in 2026. And I find it fascinating because this was purposeful. His performance like that was purposeful. It was for these clips. It was for people to share it. It was for people to talk about him. And that's why I like authenticity. I'm sorry, I do. And it was faux authenticity. That's what I'm going to say about it. And I just ranted for 25 minutes and I didn't expect to. So you know what? We're going to take a break now, a little bit of a music break. Up next, we're going to get into my thesis update and talking about my presentation and a little bit of theoretical discussion, right? And then we're going to get into our advice questions. We have really good ones coming down the pike. So here's a little music break and I will see y'all soon. Welcome back to Grief Support Group. I'm your host, Alex Piscatelli, and right now we are in the part of the show in which I discuss my thesis update and a little bit of research in grief and whatever comes out. No, just kidding. I have a full plan. Okay, so my thesis, as mentioned, turned in a full draft last night at like 12:50 a.m., okay? And we'll see what happens. I'm supposed to defend in less than 2 weeks. And you know what? I think it's going to go great because I'm manifesting that to be the case. And you know what? Let me discuss this because I was in Atlanta last week for the Popular Culture Association conference and it went so well. What I presented and discussed was my thesis and the research I have been doing this whole time. And you know what? It was really well received. And the truth of the matter is I feel like everyone at conferences is really nice, but how I can tell people are particularly interested is that they will ask really good questions. That's how to tell. Because I feel like in the past when I've presented, I act like I'm like an old hat and I've like presented at like millions of, no, this was my third conference presentation. So last year I presented at, it's called Broadcast Education Association, which I was supposed to do this weekend, but lack of funding. But I presented that, and that was just a poster session, which means there's like a bunch of people with a poster and you stand in front of it and people come up to you, which I got really good questions from that. But I feel like I didn't really know what I was doing at that point. That was a year ago at this point. The thing I will say about grad school, and I think for me specifically, I mean for anyone, but I think for me specifically, it really helped me grow in confidence in my work, in my voice. I think I've always like had the same ideas and the same thought processes. I don't think I've necessarily, well, I guess I shouldn't be unfair to myself. I think I've grown in like the thoughts I have. Like, I think I'm thinking smarter, I guess. I don't know. But I think I've always kind of like felt this way about many things, but I think I'm able to like articulate and write and discuss and whatever things in a way that I've never been able to before. So I feel like that's for me been really powerful in the best part of grad school. But anyway, so I think it's crazy how much I've grown in the last year, but I did that one last year. It's a poster, so people came up to me, whatever. And again, I was like, what am I talking about? I don't know. It was like my proposal that I wrote in my first grad class. So not very deep or advanced, I guess you could say. And then I presented last year at a conference called something Association Education of Journalism and Mass Communication, I think. In that one, I had discussed a study that I did on why am I forgetting what it was called? It was on Survivor, and I looked at how kind of the new era has increased like racial diversity, like gender conversations and diversity in the way that people are represented gender-wise, and also increased discussions about grief as a result of all these factors that made Survivor New Era what it was. I don't know why I can't think of the name of that study. I'm like so annoyed with Survivor that I don't even want to think about it at the moment, because Survivor 50 has been so stupid, honestly. Literally last night's episode, let me just say this. I was on my phone at parts of it. One thing about me is if I'm watching Survivor live on a Wednesday at 8 p.m., I'm not on my phone. This is like it's like a concert for me. I guess people at concerts like famously go on their phones, but it's something in which like I must pay attention. This was the first time in my life I was on my phone during Survivor. I'm not joking. And you know what? I'm going to rewatch the episode and hope it'll feel better, but I'm a little burnt out. I'm not loving it. But anyway, so this was my third conference presentation, and I actually think it was my best one. I feel so empowered, and I feel like, oh my God, I'm doing something original and cool. And like, it's in a place where it's like almost done. And like, I did it obviously with help of my committee and mentors and stuff, but I did this on my own. Like, that's so cool. Cause I also did a paper with my mentor, shout out to Dr. Nate. And we had turned it in last summer, and we just turned in revisions a few weeks ago because we got so many revisions, which is a whole thing. Like the peer review process in academia, it's a lot. It was really stressful. But like, that felt like kind of my brainchild, but also like I felt like I leaned on Dr. Nate so much because I was like, what am I doing? Whereas like my thesis, I'm like, oh my God, like the fact that I just turned in another draft, and I was like reading through it last night, and I was like, I sound good. Like, oh my God, like, wait, what? You know what I mean? Like, I was like, wait, I sound great. And so I felt that presenting last week. I was like, I'm in my element. Like, I made zines for everyone. I was on a presentation like block. It was like an hour and a half block for each thing. And it was me and two other presenters, and we were all doing something related to death, dying, or funeral studies. And so it was me and them, and There was a lot of people in the room, which was really cool. Like, mind you, a conference room, it's not, you don't necessarily expect a ton of people in there. You know what I mean? It's not like you think of a conference and you think of like a large like auditorium of sorts, but like there's so many different sessions going on at the same time. But there were maybe like 15. I don't want to like overestimate, but there were maybe like 15 people in the audience. And it was funny because one of the other presenters, like the two other presenters, were much further along in their careers than I. They were like older, and they have done this for a while. They're both like in their careers, whatever. One of them said he's close to retirement, so, or semi-retired or something. So it was kind of funny because I'm like, oh hey, like I'm here. But I didn't feel like young or anything. Like I was like, I'm an expert on what I'm talking about. Like I felt good. I actually felt so good. I felt so good. Like, and I don't mean this in like a in any certain way, but like I felt sexy. You know what I mean? Like I don't mean it in like a, oh, she's sexy. I mean it like, ooh, I felt good. Like I felt good. I just did a pose, but like I felt good. Anyway, and like the other presenter who said he's like semi-retired or whatever, he was like, you know what? I've had sessions in which there's only like 2 or 3 people. He was like, I'm surprised. And I'm like, wait, like, I'm not saying this, but I'm like, wait, are people kind of here for my presentation in a way? You know what I mean? I'm like, wait, am I like, you know what I mean? And so I kind of felt really good about that. I think, I don't know, like, I think it's cool to have people in the room, even if they weren't there for me specifically, because I'm really not trying to be like, oh, whatever, but like, people are all there to see stuff about death and dying. Like, how sick is that? Like, that's awesome. Like, I think that I don't know, academic spaces in which people do scholarship on death and dying and grief, like, I do feel really at home in those scenarios because I often, and this is just a personal anecdote, this is not like any sort of like definitive personality trait or whatever, but I feel like when you're in a space that you're able to discuss death and dying, I find people to be so much more vulnerable. And as a result, I feel like it's like people are funnier, people are nicer. Like, I feel like if you're open to talking about death and grief, like, you're cool. Like, I just find you cool and interesting because, yeah, like, I feel like being able to be vulnerable in that way allows you to be vulnerable in all facets. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, so it went well. It went really well. And so, yeah, what I wanted to discuss a little bit today, is there's this piece, and it's not like, it doesn't serve as like a main theoretical framework for my research. And reminder, my thesis examines, teen drama fans' understanding and interpretation of grief. And so, once again, this is not the main framework. The study I'm doing is an audience reception theory. So it's, or the framework I used for my study. So I'm looking at how like audiences and specifically fans are decoding and understanding the messages in these shows, right? So what I'm about to say is not a basis of not a framework for my study, but I discuss it in my literature review. I discuss it a little bit in my analysis and my like discussion and conclusion and all of that. So that idea is this idea of grief literacy. So I want to talk about it because I find this framework and this idea to be really fascinating, and I think especially pertinent to the work I'm doing and the work I'm trying to do. So obviously y'all know what literacy means, right? And so grief literacy is the same thing, except when it comes to grief, it's being able to discuss grief with others and being able to understand what's grief and being able to, define grief and talk about grief and understand grief and all of these things. And when someone is grief literate, or when people within a society or within a community are more grief literate, what does this lead to? It leads to more people talking about grief with each other, more people understanding what grief looks like amongst each other. And therefore, as a result, more people are going to acknowledge grief, talk about grief, and therefore contribute to a more inclusive society. Why? Because talking about grief and naming it and acknowledging it and allowing people who are grieving to grieve and to feel it out and to feel their pain or whatever emotions are tied to their grief that's inclusive. That's inclusive because you're allowing someone to feel out their true experience, right? And so grief literacy is something I discuss in my thesis. Again, not as a framework, but just as something background to discuss and something that I brought in as part of my analysis. Because people are watching these shows and maybe they're not coming for the grief storylines, as I found in my thematic analysis of the interviews that I did. People are watching these shows for the romance, but then they're getting lessons on grief and death in the process, right? And so people are watching these shows and they're seeing these grief storylines and they're thinking about grief and maybe they're talking about grief with other people. And as such, they are becoming more grief literate. And you know what? Even if they have personal experience with grief, even if they don't, the very act of watching these shows and maybe even discussing them is enhancing their grief literacy because it's more exposure to different experiences with grief and different storylines with grief and what have you. So grief literacy is so sick. Like, I love it. And I think for me, and I'm going to discuss this on the first episode of my video series coming, stay tuned. But I think for me, and in this video series that I'm coming out with, grief literacy is really going to serve as a framework for those videos and for those conversations that I want to have on the show. Because I used to think for a really long time, and I'll say this because it's true. I, obviously losing both my parents, I felt like in many ways, and this is just how it happens, and in support groups I've discussed this, it's how could you not feel this way because people won't talk to you about grief, right? I felt like, okay, I'm super knowledgeable about grief because I've experienced it. And that's true. But I'm knowledgeable about my own personal experience with grief. I think there's so many other kinds of grief. And I think I had the tendency in the past to feel like some forms of grief are so much harder than others, which sure, but also everything is so relative. And I think even if someone discusses a quote lesser grief, which again, for sake of everything, life, we don't want to use that verbiage, but let's just say, the end of a friendship or a relationship, not by death, just by breaking up. That is a grief. And if we talk about that kind of grief more and name it as grief, then guess what? The grief from losing a loved one, from a loved one dying, will then become more normalized to discuss because we're discussing all forms of grief. So this is why grief literacy is important. I think it's huge to name grief and discuss grief because then the forms of grief that feel especially taboo, like it being, for me, it's been 4 years since my mom died and I'm not okay. You know what I mean? Something can come up and trigger me at any moment, and it does. I literally couldn't drive home 2 days ago because I was triggered by something. And for me, a lot of my grief and panic and whatever comes out when I drive for some reason. I need EMDR. That's a whole other thing. But then we can discuss those grief experiences more and we can normalize it and feel more comfortable with one another. So grief literacy is huge. So my goal with the video series is that everyone I interview has some sort of experience with grief. Maybe it's not deep grief that changes you forever, but it's grief that helps you understand grief. It serves as a framework for you to understand grief. And I think that's huge. So yeah, this is honestly something. So in my death and dying class, we kind of discussed what we've learned this semester. And honestly, it's been one of my favorite classes of college. So there's so many things, but I think for me, it's really helped my grief literacy. Because again, even though I have these huge personal experiences with grief, I'm discussing grief in such a different way than I ever have. And I'm discussing it with different people than I ever would have. And so I think it's just so important. And that's my goal with my video series. Okay. I feel like that was a good thesis update, a good conversation about the conference, about Atlanta, all these things. So we are going to take a quick music break and then we're going to get into our advice questions. So I will see you shortly. Welcome back to Grief Support Group. I am your host, Alex Piscatelli, and we are at the part of the show where we discuss our advice questions. So if you have any advice questions for a future episode about love, life, death, grief, reality TV, because that is the one we're about to get to, which I'm so excited for, you can submit anything anonymously at any time, and you can do so at bit.ly/KSFS advice. Okay, we have 2 questions. We're going to get right into it. I'm so excited. Also, just a side note, I was looking at my photos on my phone because I don't know why. I like didn't know what to scroll on during my during the break, and I felt like scrolling because here's the thing. I'm over Instagram. I'm over it. I hate it. I don't want to see quote content. I don't want to quote consume anything. So anyway, I was looking at my own photos, and there was like 2 days ago a random person, like a random carrot on campus. Like there was someone dressed as, like it was like a mascot suit, but it was a carrot. I was like, what is going on? And they were just like, I was like leaving the library, and I was actually feeling so horrible and awful. And like that was the day I panicked driving. So I was just like, oh my God, how am I going to get home? Like I'm so scared. And I walk and I just see someone dressed as a carrot. I'm like, literally, what's going on? Okay, so let's get into our first advice question. So this person said, well, I know who they are, which I'll read. But they said, hello, Grief and Media. This is Justin from the Reading Podcast. Shout out to Justin. Shout out to the Reading Podcast, another show on KSFS. So they said, like you, I love reality TV competitions like Survivor, Big Brother, parentheses, RIP BB Canada, Drag Race, etc. Since Survivor is so friendly now, parentheses, Jeff Probst when I catch you, I wanted to ask you what you think makes a good reality TV fight. And they said bonus points if this is formatted in a very academic way, but no worries. Okay, I love the parentheses about the academic way. This is going to be like very faux academia. Like, you know, when you think of like the love languages or Enneagram or something, and everyone's like, oh, that's psychology, but it's like so like pop psychology. That's what I'm about to do right now. Okay, I'm gonna do pop media theory is what I'm gonna do right now. So I'm so sorry I didn't have time to prepare a true academic answer, but I hope this serves, because you know what, this is researched. Is it researched with true academia and true whatever in mind? No, but it's still researched. I guarantee that. That's the Alex guarantee. Okay, so let me get into it. And what I'm going to discuss first that serves as a framework for the conversations in which I'm about to have about what makes a good reality TV fight is this. So I had previously in a previous episode of Grief Support Group, which actually I want to pull up. I forgot to pull up the number episode it was. But I had previously discussed my arch nemesis theory. Okay, I just found it. It's on Grief Support Group episode number 9. The portrayal of grief on Survivor and my arch nemesis theory. So if you want to hear more about my arch nemesis theory specifically, go to Grief Support Group episode 9. But my theory that I had developed is called the arch nemesis theory. And it's that everyone, to have like good equilibrium in your life, to be truly satisfied, I think you must have an arch nemesis. And what does arch nemesis mean? Arch nemesis means there's someone that you and them both consider each other arch nemesis. This doesn't work if it's one-sided, okay? You can have that, but it will not create true satisfaction and true equilibrium in your life. So it has to be someone in which both of you consider each other arch nemesis. And to be arch nemesis, you have to be in constant competition with each other, but you have to ultimately like and respect this person. Yes, you feud. Yes, you fight. But you have to respect them. A good example of this, and just because it's at the top of my mind, although I don't think you should also never romantically end up with your arch nemesis, like what? But in Never Have I Ever, my favorite show on Netflix, a teen drama show, so this was discussed in my thesis, but well, not arch nemesis theory, but the show, Davey and Ben Gross on the show are arch nemesis. They end up together, whatever. I'm Team Paxton. But anyway, those are arch nemesis because they were constantly in competition to be valedictorian, top of the class, whatever. Their whole lives, they were competing in that way, but they respect each other. And they, even though they fight, they like each other and are friends ultimately. I mean, obviously they end up together. You should never end up with your arch nemesis. You should never. That ruins the equilibrium. It's like, you know what I mean? But anyway, so the arch nemesis theory, you need a little love mixed with the hate, or it simply does not work. It can't just be hate. It cannot. It has to be mixed with love. Okay? A little respect with the displeasement of this person. Okay, so using that as a framework, what I personally think makes a good reality TV fight is that people are feuding and they are at a constant duel and they aren't afraid to like be insulting to each other, but there's something in them that either respects the person or loves the person or has some sort of closeness with this person. So I'm getting back into Big Brother, which I think you know, and I discussed on my newsletter. I used to watch Big Brother. I stopped. I'm back on it. It's nostalgic for me. I feel like there was this time in the 2010s in which I would be watching Big Brother on my papasan chair on my laptop and just know my mom is in the other room. I would be just watching these episodes, seeing Derek win, seeing Frankie Grande be Frankie Grande. Mind you, my favorite I love season 16 of Big Brother. I think it's so funny. But I love the moment where Frankie's like, I'm a social media mogul. My sister, he's like, last name Grande. And then Derek's like, Amanda. It's like Ariana. He's like, I thought Ari was a dude. Anyway, so what I love about Big Brother is that the fights on Big Brother are so good. And why are they good? Because Big Brother, you're in that house for 3 months, which is like so insane to me. But because you're in that house for 3 months, yes, there's people that you don't like, but you form a closeness with them that you don't in other shows. Like Survivor New Era frankly sucks for many reasons, but the fact that it's only 26 days compared to its original 29 or 39 days, it's just like what is there to fight about? We're about to be out of here. You know what I mean? And people, I think, are too conscious of their image now on Survivor too, and just like with reality TV in general, whereas Big Brother is so immersive and like so long that people lose track of like what they are appearing like on the outside world. So I think Big Brother in particular cultivates an environment in which people can really fight, and it makes a good fight. And I think Survivor Old Era, and I think okay, I have 3 examples of shows of 3 fights that I personally love. I love them. So I'll start with Big Brother. And I literally wrote, I'm sorry, but I was gagged for Big Brother 19. And I was, because I hate Paul. And I'm rewatching right now season 18. So I'm seeing Paul in the beginning. I've never liked him. It just ridiculous, always fighting, always having to be in charge in some way. And on season 19, Paul had like a sort of army of people who just like defended him and all these things. And I think season 19 had so many unlikable people and it was so frustrating, but it was really fun to see these unlikable people like go at it because they were in this close environment and there was sort of like factions created where there was like the Jess and Cody of it all, which like, oh my God, I was talking about Jess and Cody like a month or 2 ago with shout out to Pop Weasel on KSFS, but I was talking about Jess and Cody and they're like really, I mean you could have guessed back then too, but they're like real MAGA, like real having 20 kids, being, who knows, crazy. But like, it was really, to me, just like an interesting dynamic because, again, they were so at odds. And, I don't know if the respect was there, but I think the kinship of being in the house all together and for so long made it so there were these moments where, like, I don't know, they had this joint experience together. So I think Big Brother often cultivates these moments, right? And I really like characters, and I think we're missing this, especially in New Era Survivor, where there's people that you just love to hate. And Paul is one of those people that I hate. I hate as a character. Don't know how he is in real life, but I hate as a character. But on the show, I love to hate him. Like, it's so fun to have this person that you're like, oh my God, I don't want to see what they're doing next. It's fun. It's really fun, especially on rewatch, especially once you know the Paul doesn't win, because then it's so satisfying when a Paul doesn't win. And so let me circle now to a Survivor season that I love, a fight that I love. And I don't know if this is unpopular or not, but I'm going to say it. Survivor... Oh, I wrote the wrong number on. Okay, I think it's Survivor 29. It's Survivor San Juan del Sur. And it's the second Blood versus Water season they did, but it was all people who, like the first Blood versus Water they did, which is where everyone came in as a pair, like a loved one with a loved one. That the first one was returners. The second one, San Juan del Sur, was all new players. And so again, everyone came in with a relationship, an already existing relationship, and they all had to navigate this, right? And so on that season, there was a mom and a daughter named Missy and Baylor, and they were just so, to me, they were people I loved to hate. Missy just like felt like she was so in control of the game. Baylor would kind of be like whiny and annoying. She was like only 19, and she would kind of heed. At first, she was playing like an interesting maybe game, and then she kind of would just like listen to her mom the rest of the time. So it was really interesting dynamics. And there was this guy on that season named Reed who came in with his boyfriend, husband. I know they're not together anymore. I'm not sure, but came in with his partner. And Reed just was friends with Missy in the beginning, right, on their original tribe. And then as time went on, he hated them and he would call them out because they were on opposing sides, and Missy kind of had control a lot of the game, or was in the control side. And so Reed had these moments where he was like, there's this one particular fight where he's like calling out Missy and Baylor at a challenge. And he was like, Baylor, you're a brat. And Baylor was like, just shocked. And she was like, and then I feel it makes me laugh every time, because I think Missy said something like, don't call her a brat or something. And Reed was like, girl, like blah, blah, blah. And Baylor was like, girl, she's a mom. And Reed was like, girl, I know she's your mom, but like, but you're being a brat or whatever. And it's just so good. And then the final tribal council, Missy gets to the final three, and Reed has this whole beautiful, the best monologue in all of Survivor, in which he says, this is like a storybook in which the wicked stepmother does all these things throughout the game. But the great thing about literary like tropes is that the stepmother never wins, and so like Missy, you will not win. And it's just this amazing monologue. And I think a lot of that hate came from because they were allies in the beginning, and because Survivor is so long and forces you to really, you're like, wow, I really don't like this person, but you thought you did in the beginning. So I loved that. And then the last example I will say is Love Island season 6, USA season 6. And I think of Rob Roush, who obviously went on for the Traitors, and then him and Leah had like a whole relationship that kind of ended, and then he chose this person, Andrea. The girls had the power to get someone out because they had to get out one of the bottom like voted people. And so they choose Andrea to go home, even though Rob and Andrea were coupled up. And then Rob is like, now you're sending 3 home, and like just all these things. And you see everyone like so shocked, like so immediately shocked and upset. And Rob has this confessional in which he's like, the system has failed her. about Andrea. And it's so good. And the reason why that is so good is because, Leah and Rob had all these feelings still. Whatever she wants to say, like whatever she wants to admit, frankly, the reason why Andrea is out is because of that, right? And because of people backing Leah. But they all had formed like this close friendship, and you're on Love Island and your whole world becomes these relationships. And so I love that. I think that's one of my favorite moments in reality TV of all time. Well, I guess this and the San Juan del Sur stuff. But as mentioned, the arch nemesis theory is really salient here, as well as the like having people you love to hate. I think you really need like a good conflict between someone you like or respect and someone you love to hate as an audience. That's like the way we receive it as audience members. But for people in the show and for these reality contestants, it's really about the arch nemesis of it all. So I hope that answer was good. I would love to talk about it with you further. Actually, I'm like, should this be like a podcast episode? More to come. Let's talk, but let me know what you think about that. And anyone else who's a reality fan would love to hear about your favorite reality fights. Okay, I'm going to go straight into advice question number 2 because I have to go shoot a kickball promo. I am partaking in a kickball game at SF State this weekend. And so there's promos to be had because this celebrity life just doesn't stop, okay? So let me get into advice question number 2. So this person said, how do you keep negative thoughts away when something really good is happening to you? Like a good job. Okay, so I get it. I totally get it. I think it's very easy to be like, yeah, something's the shoe's gonna drop. Something bad is gonna happen. Yeah, it's very easy to do that. And I'm someone who I am not diagnosed with OCD because I've never told a psychiatrist about my intrusive thoughts. But I get really, really bad intrusive thoughts. And I think something important to, not saying what you're having is intrusive thoughts, but of course maybe it is intrusive for you, but it's negative thoughts surrounding something that should be positive and should be exciting, right? And so I think the best thing to do about negative thoughts or unwanted thoughts is to, and this is harder, this is easier said than done, this is harder than I'm gonna make it seem, but I think you can't give power to these thoughts, okay? And I give power to the thoughts. I get very nervous about them. I mean, even my panic about driving, it's like, panic disorder, which I have, is so you worry about a panic attack and that's why you have a panic attack because you're so scared of it happening. Whereas if you're not scared of a panic attack happening, if you just let the panic attack happen, like you're not going to have panic attacks. That's the crazy part, okay? And so when you're having negative thoughts, it's very easy to give them power and be like, why am I thinking like this? What does this mean? What is this negative thought? Why can't I just enjoy what I have going on? But if instead you listen to the thought, you say, I'm thinking negatively about this, or I'm having this intrusive thought, or let me talk through it to myself, or let me really think about it. Like, what if, you know what I mean? Like because you said like a good job. So it sounds like you have a good job and your experience has been bad jobs, right? Your past jobs have all been bad, maybe. Like, think about it. Like, okay, if this job turns bad, like if my manager becomes micromanagey or, whatever it may be, then what? You'll deal with it. So I think being very careful to not give these thoughts the power that they want to have, right? Intrusive thoughts or whatever these thoughts, they want power. I don't know if that's true. I don't know what they want. I don't know if there's something with conscious feelings or whatever. But like, I think by overtly thinking about it, you're giving them power. And I think I guess I should say by trying to avoid these thoughts, you're giving them more power because they want that. They want you to avoid it and not think it through. But if you think it through, it no longer has power. And I'll also say this, obviously well, not obviously, but I'm assuming that when you say a good job, like your past jobs maybe have been bad, right? That's my assumption. So you're probably comparing this current situation to what you've been through in the past. And so I think recognizing that pattern that you are doing, in which it's this comparison, it's this, oh, this is what used to happen, or this is what it used to be like. And acknowledging where these thoughts are coming from could really help you address them. So I hope that makes sense. I think just talk through it with people, with loved ones, be in community with these thoughts. You are in control. Though it can feel like your thoughts are in control, ultimately you are in control. So take back the power. I need this advice for myself as I drive home, because I'm like so scared to drive home. Oh my God, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, so just know that other people are dealing with this too. But you got this. Congrats on having like a good job going right now. I think that's really exciting, and soak that in and celebrate that. Okay. Well, if anyone has any more questions they want to ask, advice questions for a future show, you can do so at bit.ly/KSFS advice. This has been another episode of Grief Support Group. I'm your host, Alex Piscatelli. I'm so happy to have you all here. I said this would be a shorter episode. I don't think that was the case. I only played 2 songs. So I will see you all next time, and I'll leave you off with a few songs, and I'll see you next week, and I'll see you with a video and with another podcast episode coming soon. Okay, love you all. Bye.